Shah Abdul Latif Bhitta, commonly known by the honorifics Lakhino Latif, Latif Ghot, Bhittai, and Bhit Jo Shah, was a Sindhi Sufi mystic and poet from Pakistan, widely considered to be the greatest poet of the Sindhi language. Born to a Kazmi Sayyid family of halahaweli, originating from Herat, near modern-day Hala, Bhittai grew up in the nearby town of Kotri Mughal. At the age of around 20, he left home and travelled throughout Sindh and neighbouring lands, and met many mystics and yogis, whose influence is evident in his poetry. Returning home after 3 years, he was married into an aristocratic family, but was widowed shortly afterwards and did not remarry. His piety and spirituality attracted a large following as well as the hostility of a few. Spending the last years of his life at Bhitshah, he died in 1752. A mausoleum was built over his grave in subsequent years and became a popular pilgrimage site. His poems were compiled by his disciples in his Shah Risalo. It was first published in 1866. Several Urdu and English translations of the work have been published since. Bhittai's poetry is popular among the people of Sindh, and he is venerated throughout the province. Tuhfat al-Kiram and Maqalat al-Shu'ara, written by Mir Ali Sher Khani Thatvi, a contemporary of Shah Abdul Latif, some 15 years after the death of the poet, gives some basic details of his life. Other than these, however, few written records exist from the early period, and most of what has been reported about his IFA was transmitted orally through generations. The oral traditions were collected and documented in the late 19th century by Mirza Khalid Beg and Mir Abd al-Hussein Sangi. Together with Thatwi's works, these form the basis for the outline of the poet's life. Bhittai was born in 1689 or 1690 in halahaweli, near modern-day Hala, to Shah Habib, a great-grandson of the Sufi poet Shah Abdul Karim Bulri. His ancestors trace their lineage back to the fourth Caliph Ali and Fatima, the daughter of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. They had emigrated to Sindh from Herat during the late 14th century. Bhittai spent the early years of his childhood in halahaweli, but the family then relocated to the nearby town of Kotri Mughal. Local tradition holds that he was illiterate. However, his use of Arabic and Persian in his poetry and the evident influence of the Persian poet Rumi on his thought show that he was well educated. At the age of around 20, he fell in love with Saida Begum, a daughter of an Argan aristocrat of Kotri Mughal, Mirza Mughal Beg, which landed Bhittai's family in trouble and caused them return to halahaweli. Her love, however, had a deep impact on young Bhittai, and he left home wandering deserts and embarking on travel through Sindh and adjacent lands. According to Motilal Jotwani, it was perhaps during these travels that his poetic nature came to the fore. He mentions the places he visited in his poems. First, he went to Ganjo Hill, near what is now Hyderabad, thereafter travelling to Kalachi, modern Karachi, through Thatta and Banbor. On the journey, he met yogis and accompanied them to Hinglaj in the mountains of southern Balochistan. On his return east, he visited Lahut in Laspala and then travelled across to Dwarka, Porbandar, Junagadh, and several other places in the Kutch region. Returning west, he visited Karunjar Mountains in Nagapakar. Parting ways with the yogis in Thar, he went to Jaisalmer before returning to Thatta and then home. His travels seem to have had a strong influence on his poetry. Bhittai's poetry is mainly Sufi in nature and deeply religious. He connects the traditional folk tales with the divine love. The poems, known locally as bait, and similar in form to the Indian doha, are lyrical, are intended for a musical performance, and are usually very compact. Bhittai's poetry was not written down during his lifetime, but was sung and memorized by his disciples during the musical sessions, rag, that he used to hold. The poems were compiled after his death into a collection called Shah Risalo, the Book of Shah. The Risalo was first published in 1866 by the German philologist Ernest Trump. It contains 30 chapters, called sur, each focusing on a particular musical mode. Each sur is further divided into sections, dastan, story, or a fasil, chapter, which contains similarly themed abiyat. Each section ends with one or more wires. Some surs focus on folk tales of Sindh, such as Sasui Punhun, Sokhni Mehar, Umar Marui, and Leland Chanisar, whereas others, like Sur Asa and Sur Yaman Kalyan, describe the mystical moods and ideal traditional lover. Sur Sarang is devoted to the praise of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, while Sur Kadaro laments the death of Muhammad's grandson and Bhittai's ancestor, Hussein ibn Ali, at the Battle of Karbala in 680. Sur Kadaro has been said by some prominent scholars of Shah's poetry, such as Nabi Bakhsh Baloch and Ghulam Muhammad Shawani, to have come from an external.